Hello everyone, welcome to the second video of the complete Android app developer course. And in this video, as I promised that in this course we will even cover Java from the very scratch. So this video is going to be about Java. But even if you know Java already, and you have most of you must have coded in Java and programmed in Java in school or other previous encounters, right? But the thing is, when you are using Java in Android, there are many things that are not covered in general Java courses that are being used in Android. The reason is there are so many components, right? There are so many components in your applications like buttons, progress bars, seek bars, etc. etc. Images, videos, sounds that are used in an application. But how to access them in your Java code? For example, there is a button that does something in our application, and we want to code what happens when that button is pressed, as we made an app earlier, right? So, how will you access that button? We will access that button as a variable in Java, right? But when you learn Java on normal basis, that is not covered because there are a lot of things in an application that you access through Java that are treated as variables but are not variables in true sense. Okay, so what is a variable? A variable is anything that changes its value in the course of its time, right? For example, I say integer. So what is an integer? Anything that takes a value from minus infinity to plus infinity, except the decimal numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 6, minus 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, anything that is an integer. So there are some basic data types that are known as primitive data types in Java. These primitive data types are integers, int. So if I say int x is equal to 10, that means we are telling the compiler or the device that we want the value of the integer x to be 10. Firstly, we are telling the compiler that x is an integer data type. And then we are giving the value of x to that integer, or value to that x of 10, right? We are saying integer x is equal to 10. Further, the other primitive data types, as I said, some basic data types that are used in Java are float, double. Float and double are basically when you want to when your integer wants to when your variable wants to take the value of decimal, for example, 4.3, 7.56, 78.459. In that cases, you use the basic variables like float, decimals, and furthermore there are boolean. What is a boolean? Boolean is basically a variable primitive data types that returns a value true or false. So if we want to check in logical expression, and we want to ask the compiler, or we want to check if that specific logical expression is true or not, then we use a boolean. For example, Boolean x is equal to true. This means that if after checking a specific logical expression, we are assigning the value of x to be true at the moment because the condition that we are checking it for is true. Furthermore, apart from Boolean, integer, Java has many varieties of integer with respect to the true sense of integer is always the same, right? So these are byte, short, int, and long. All four of these byte, short, int, and long are basically the same. The only difference is the amount of data that it can handle. The size of the integers that it can handle vary from a type of the data it contains. So the smallest size that it can handle is short, and after short it is int, then long, and float and double are for assigning the values to be a decimal type. After that, we are Boolean for true and false values. And after all of this, we have what we say the Android view variables. Okay, so what are these? This is going to be interesting now. So for everyone who are familiar with Java, this is something even new for you. Okay, so what in Android, let me explain the basic thing. Okay, so okay, so there are, as I said, there are many things that Android app have. Like let's minimize this. Like text views, buttons, images, fragments, scroll views, switch, radio buttons, right? Different widgets, calendar, progress bar, seek bar, etc., etc. So the thing is, when you are having these things in your uh, uh, the view, right, XML view, then you want to access them. In order to access them, we what we do is, let's go to the main activity.java. So as I gave you an analogy in the last video, that for Android, the XML file that we have right here, this XML file is basically this XML file is basically the front end. It will tell how your app will look, right? This is basically like front end. I'm not saying this is front end. I'm just giving you an analogy that this is your front end, right? And main activity.java is more like a backend where you code your code what will happen when certain parts or components of your app will be triggered or clicked on. Okay, so let's go to the import section of Java. See, you can say, and we are importing this Android x.appcompat.app.appcompat activity. Now, what is this? This is basically we are importing some of the variables or the components that we use in general in the Android applications. We are telling the compiler that apart from byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, there are some more components that a Android application have. And to access all that different components, I want you to assign me some variables that I can use. Okay. So if you remember the last video, we used some things like edit text. We used it as a variable. We used text view. We use here I was making a project in this, we have video view. Okay, so we treat different components as a variable. So as I can say, so now as I have imported the view, what is the view? View is how your Android app will look, right? So how the view is programmed using the XML file, which is right here. How the internal programming is done, that what will happen when any of the components of the view is triggered, that we program here in main activity.java. And just because of this statement, now we know what we want to do, right? Now we have some new variables. Now it can access everything in the view. So what are the things in the view that we can access now in Java file? There are edit text, there are text views, there are images, image view, video view, sound view, and we will buttons, and we will we will learn about them in thorough in future lectures. So no, don't worry about it. Just for now, know that these are also treated as variables because we have imported the view from the XML file. So as previously I said, int x is equal to 10, we are telling the compiler that x is an integer and the value of that integer is 10, right? Now what we can do is we can say to the compiler that button b is equal to new button. What will that do is it will tell the compiler that b1 is a type of button, and to access it we use find view by id method, and so it will just search for that specific id, and then that specific id will be given to that variable button. So button is used as a variable. So we are assigning b1 name to the we are to the button data type. So data type, it is like a data type, now that is treated as a variable. Now that b1 is like a variable that has a type of button. So that was it about buttons. Furthermore, we will talk about if statements, if else statements, if else if, and other things in Java, where these are known as conditional statements, logical statements, and we will go thorough about them. And I hope in this video you got a basic idea about variables in Java, and how when we use Java in Android, there are some specific variables that you can access through importing view of the XML file, and then by accessing those variables you can treat every different components of your basic app view as as a variable. As for example, edit text, e is equal to new edit text, and then we can find view by id and then reference it. So that component can be treated as a variable of data type edit text or data type button. So these are some not typically not really the not really the data types, but these are the data types that we are going to use after importing the view in the main activity, which is previously already done by the compiler when we open the Android Studio. So yeah, that was it for the today's video. I hope you learned something new. Just hit the like button, subscribe, and open the notification for the next video. In this lecture series, I'm going to upload real soon, and these lecture series are a part of a playlist that I've already made in my channel. So go through it, and I'll be updating the videos daily or one after the other, and meet you in the next video. Thank you.